Swami Prabhu Maharaj ki jai, Guru Vaishnava ki jai, Vrindavan ki jai, Mahaprabhu Dham ki jai. Jai Gaura Premanandi. All glories to Simul devotees. All glories to Simul devotees. All glories to Shishi Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So we will continue reading from the Sri Caitanya Caritamrita. Caitanya Caritamrita means the nectarian pastimes of the living force and immortality and eternality. So this is Caitanya Mahaprabhu, living force. So we're up to chapter 14, and we're up to text number 59 today. So we'll continue reading from text number 59. Jai Jai Shri Caitanya Jai Nityananda. Jai Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Jai Shri Caitanya Jai Nityananda. Jai Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Jai Shri Caitanya Jai Nityananda. Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. So we're up to the Adi-lila, chapter 14, and this chapter is talking about the childhood pastimes of Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is non-different from Lord Krishna. There's no difference between Lord Chaitanya and Lord Krishna. They're the same personality. So as we're saying, that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was a hidden incarnation of Lord Krishna. And he appeared 500 years ago in Navadvip in Bengal. So this is written by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, and he was instructed by the Vaishnava devotees to write this Caitanya Caritamrita, because after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had disappeared, there was only a couple of books that were written about him. One was the Chaitanya Bhagavat by Vrindavan Das Thakur, and the Chaitanya Mangala by Lokchan Das Thakur. So the devotees at the time requested Krishnadas Kaviraj, who was a great poet and a great writer, to write this book to capture all the pastimes that weren't recorded of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So there was, he used a diary by some of the associates of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sarup Damodar and Murari Gupta, who both had diaries, and also Raghunath Das Goswami, who was residing in Radhakund in Vrindavan, where this was written. He would speak every day on Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami would hear directly from Raghunath Das Goswami about the pastimes. So therefore he was able to write this wonderful book that we have today, that we can, it was translated into English by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada from the Bengal it was written in. And Prabhupada has made this available to the whole world, so we can hear about these wonderful pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, who was non-different from Lord Krishna. So we'll read through the Bengali first, and then we do the word-for-word translation, and then the full English translation. So I'll read through it, and then you can repeat once I've read it. Iha shunita sabara mane haila baya. Kone kichu jani kiba deva vishta haya. Iha shunita sabara mane haila baya. Kona kichu jani kiba deva vishtahaya. Iha shunita sabara mane haila baya. Kona kichu jani kiba deva vishtahaya.
Iha shunita sabara mane haila baya.
Iha shunita sabara mane haila baya.
Kona kichu jane kiba deva vishtahaya.
Kone kichu jani kiba deva vishtahaya. Anybody else like to chant? Iha shunita sabara mane haila baya. Kone kichu jani kiba deva vishtahaya. Okay, we can do the word-for-word translation. Iha shuni, hearing this. Ta sabara, of all the girls. Mane, in the mines. Hoila, became. Baya, fear. Kona kichu, something uncommon. Jane, he knows. Kiba, what if. Deva avishta, empowered by the demigods. Haya, he is. Okay, this is the translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Hearing this supposed curse by Lord Chaitanya, the girls, considering that he might know something uncommon or be empowered by the demigods, were afraid that his curse might be effective. So what was the curse that they were afraid of? So this is, if we just go back a few verses here, what's going on in this particular section is that the young girls of Navadvip were going to bathe in the Ganga, and offer prayers and oblations to Caitanya or Durga, so they will be able to get a good husband. So they were approaching the demigods, and so they could get a benediction, that they could attain a good husband. And so this is when Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu is maybe around 14 years old at this point in time, and then he has told the girls that that they should offer the puja to him. So he is saying in the previous verses, this is what they were afraid of. This is Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu speaking. If you are miserly and do not give me the offerings, every one of you will have an old husband with at least 4 co-wives. So this is, he's joking. I mean, this is the Supreme Personality of Godhead has a sense of humour. So he jokingly was saying that, but the girls were very young and they were afraid that, oh, we don't want to be cursed like that. We'll have an old husband and we'll have 4 co-wives. As I was reading, back in those days, polygamy was such a thing back in Vedic culture at that time in Bengal. Of course, today it's not followed. In fact, Prabhupada says that his instruction was that polygamy is... He says we're in favour of polygamy, provided, of course, that the husband is able to maintain more than one wife. But it says in Kali Yuga, the age we're living within, that if one can maintain just one wife in a family, just do the basic material basics, then one is considered to be very expert. So very difficult, just to, as we all know, for those who are married, just to maintain one household with one husband and one wife. Not easy, very expensive, very, very costly. So yeah, Prabhupada in the West said it. Western countries, it wasn't a thing, and it wouldn't be appreciated if it was followed in the West, so he discouraged it and just said best to have one wife, one husband, and continue with the Krishna consciousness peacefully. But in that time, in this era, over 500 years ago, that yeah, polygamy was allowed. So Lord Caitanya is jokingly saying this to these young ladies in Navadvip. So we'll move on to the next verse. So after Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu said this, the girls then brought the offerings before the Lord that they were going to offer to the demigods and Caitanya and Durga, and Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu ate them all and blessed the girls to their full satisfaction. Text number 61. When this cunning behaviour of the Lord with the girls became known to the people in general, it did not create misunderstandings among them. Rather, they enjoyed happiness in these dealings. So, as we know, Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, so these aren't ordinary, mundane pastimes of the material world. This is the Supreme Personality of Godhead who's manifesting his eternal pastimes here in this earthly plane. So when we're hearing about these things, they aren't affairs of the mundane material world. So text number 62, one day a girl of the name Lakshmi, the daughter of Vallabhacharya, came to the bank of the Ganges to take bath in the river and worship the demigods. So she was also approaching the demigods and the Ganga to pray for a good husband. So there's a short purport here by Srila Prabhupada. According to the Gora Ganadishtapika, Lakshmi was formerly Janaki, the wife of Lord Ramachandra, or Sita, and Rukmini, the wife of Lord Krishna and Dwarka. The same goddess of fortune descended as Lakshmi to become the wife of Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu. So this Lakshmi Priya is an eternal associate of Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu, or an eternal associate of Lord Krishna, because as we know, when Krishna comes into the material world, he comes with all his eternal associates. Like 5,000 years ago, the demigods approached Lord Krishna in the island of Swaitadweep, and they were concerned at the time, 5,000 years ago, that the earth was overburdened by asuras, or people who had a demoniac consciousness, because at that time there'd been a battle between the asuras and the devas, the demigods and the demons, and the devas or the demigods had won that battle. So the demigods decided to regroup on the earth planet, and so they could use this as a staging ground to attack the demigods once again. So at the time, 5,000 years ago, the earth was overburdened by these demoniac personalities. So the Mother Bhumi assumed the form of a cow and approached the demigods to say that she was overburdened. Mother Earth was overburdened by these asuras, causing so many disturbances and so much sinful activity was going on. So they approached Lord Vishnu in Swatidweep and recited the Purusha Shukta prayers and were invoking him to please come to planet Earth and help resolve this problem with this overburdened situation of the asuras. So Lord Krishna, being very merciful, told all his associates and the demigods to take birth in human form on the Earth planet, and he will personally come himself. So we see Krishna appeared 5,000 years ago, and he explains in the Bhagavad Gita that's why he comes for. When there's a predominance of irreligion and a decrease in religion, then he will come into the material world to rectify the situation. And he also comes to enliven the Vaishnavas, the devotees, and displays his Vrindavan pastimes as well. So fortunately it was only 5,000 years ago that Lord Krishna appeared in Vrindavan and showed his eternal pastimes in Vrindavan. And then only 500 years ago, when Lord Caitanya appeared in 1486, he is non-different from Krishna. So Krishna came only 500 years ago in this form of Caitanya Mahaprabhu. So when Caitanya Mahaprabhu comes, he also comes with his eternal associates, just as when Krishna comes, he comes with all his associates from the transcendent realm. So there's a book called the Gaura Ganadishtapika, which is written by a great devotee, which explains who these personalities were from Krishna Lila, who they were in Caitanya Lila. So this particular personality, Lakshmi Priya, is actually Sita Devi in the pastimes of Lord Ramachandra, and Rukmini, one of the wives of Lord Krishna in his Dwarka pastimes. So fortunately we have this Gaura Ganadishtapika, so we understand who these people actually are. So this is text number 63. Seeing Lakshmi Devi, Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu became very attached to her, and Lakshmi, upon seeing the Lord, felt great satisfaction within her mind, because these two eternal associates are meeting once again. They understand who each other is, that Lord Caitanya understands this is my eternal consort, and Lakshmi understands that this is my eternal consort as well. So both became very, very happy and joyous when they saw one another for the first time. Text number 64. Their natural love for one another awakened, and although it was covered by childhood emotions, it became apparent that they were mutually attracted. Purport. Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu and Lakshmi Devi are eternal husband and wife. Therefore, it was quite natural for their dormant love to awaken when they saw one another. The natural feelings were immediately awakened by their meeting. Text number 65. They both enjoyed natural pleasure in seeing one another, and under the pretext of demigod worship, they manifested their feelings. Text number 66. The Lord told Lakshmi, just worship me, for I am the Supreme Lord. If you worship me, certainly you will get the benediction of your desire. Purport. This is the same philosophy declared by Lord Krishna himself. Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam braja ahatvam sarva papebhyo moksha yishyami masuchaha. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. That's from the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, text number 66. People do not understand this. They are accustomed to flatter or worship many demigods, human beings, or even cats and dogs. But when requested to worship the Supreme Lord, they refuse. This is called illusion. Factually, if one worships the Supreme Lord, there is no need to worship anyone else. For example, in a village of a limited area, one may use different wells for different purposes. But when one goes to a river where there is water constantly flowing in waves, that water can serve all his purposes. When there is a river, one can take drinking water, washes, clothes, bathe, and so on, for that water will serve all purposes. Similarly, if one worships the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, all his goals will be served. Kaimashtaishta Kritagyana Prabhadyante Nya Devataha. Only men who have lost their intelligence worship the various demigods to fulfill their desires. That's from the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, text number 20. Oh. Okay, so there's, we'll finish there. So for the next person who gives class is text number 67, for whoever is the next speaker on the Caritamrita. So there's several points of discussion that we can elaborate on a little bit further here. So we talked about how this is when Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu was about 14 years old, and he first meets this devotee, Lakshmi Priya, as his eternal consort. So at this time, Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu, his mother, Sachimata, was quite anxious for her son, Vishvambara, he was called at the time, to marry. As you know, maybe if you've come from India, it's a big thing about getting married, and it's a big disturbance for the parents if their children are growing and they're not married yet. Big problem. Do you've experienced that yourself? Or I don't know if it's still the case in India these days, but from those I've spoken to, that big anxiety for the parents when their children, especially the daughters, aren't married. So Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu, his mother Sachimata, was very much so concerned about marrying her son Vishvambara. So, as explained here, that Lakshmi Devi was the daughter of Vallabhacharya, and it's explained in the Chaitanya Bhagavat that he was a very pious Brahmana who was residing in Navadvip during those times. Sri Vallabhacharya was equal to King Janaka, the father of Sita Devi, in every respect, because Lakshmi Devi, Lakshmi Priya, is non-different from Sita, so Vallabhacharya is non-different from Janaka Maharaj, who is the father of Sita Devi. So Lakshmi Devi was as beautiful as the goddess Lakshmi. By the will of Providence, Caitanya Mahaprabhu and Lakshmi Devi met one day at the bank of the Ganges while she had gone bathing, as we were just reading today. So they both recognise each other as being their eternal companions. By the will of Providence, a matchmaker whose name was Vanamali visited the residence of Sachimata on that same day. He urged Sachimata to consider getting Nimai married very soon. He suggested that Lakshmi Priya, who was in no way inferior to the goddess Lakshmi, would be the perfect match of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. He also added that Lakshmi Priya was a daughter of the Vallabhacharya, a renowned Brahmana of Navadvip. However, Sachimata replied, "My son has lost his father. Let him grow a bit older and study further. Then I shall consider his marriage." The apathetic reply made Vanamali feel dejected, and he left Sachi Devi's house. But by divine arrangement, on his way out, he met Lord Caitanya. As soon as Lord Caitanya saw Vanamali, he affectionately embraced him. On being asked, Vanamali described what had happened, and also Sachimata did not respond positively to his proposal. The Lord fell silent. Reaching home, he asked his mother as to why she had not responded to the Brahmana's proposal favourably. Receiving her son's indication, an elated Sachi Devi summoned the matchmaker Vanamali back to the house the next day and asked him to act on his proposal immediately. So this is how the first marriage of Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu took place, because he's actually married 2 times. So this is his first wife was Lakshmi Priya, and his second wife was Vishnu Priya. We can read a little bit more about this marriage, and as we discuss that these are not mundane pastimes of the material world, these are purely transcendental pastimes. So by hearing about these pastimes of Lord Caitanya meeting his eternal consort, it's actually purifying the heart, because it's connecting us to the transcendent platform. Vallabhacharya welcomed the Brahmana Vanamali with all respect and offered him a seat. Vanamali revealed that he had found a suitable husband for Lakshmi Priya, Vallabha's daughter. Vanamali exclaimed, "His name is Vishvambara, and he is the son of Jagannath Mishra. He is most scholarly and is an ocean of all good qualities. He is most suitable to marry your daughter. Please consider these points. Let me know if you like this proposal and you want to proceed with it." Vallabhacharya became exceedingly pleased and expressed, "Only by earning immense piety can a girl obtain such a husband. If Krishna was satisfied with me, or if the goddess of fortune were pleased with my daughter, only then could I ever hope for such a son-in-law. Please do not delay. Proceed with this proposal and perform all the necessary details. He also shyly admitted he did not possess the means of presenting anything as a dowry. Ooh. I can simply give my daughter and 5 pieces of auspicious haritaka fruit. Please convey this to them. So this was the dowry. Obviously didn't have a lot of material opulence at the time. So he's offering 5 pieces of haritaki fruit. Vallabhacharya said this. The news spread, everyone was overjoyed. Friends and relatives came forward to make themselves useful on the occasion. So this is obviously a very ecstatic pastime. Like these are all the Lord's eternal associates, and they're planning this great wonderful festival, this marriage between Lord Caitanya and his eternal consort Lakshmi Priya. So just like in the material world, people are very attracted to hearing about mundane love affairs in the material world, like in all the Bollywood movies, right, about the romance, and in the movies in the West and the television programs, all about romance between men and women. So people are very attracted to these things. But and the Srimad Bhagavatam explains that this is what actually keeps us in this material world is called Matunya Agara, or the shackles of sex life, or the strong attraction between men and women is what keeps us in this cycle of samsara, repeated birth and death. Because in the Vedas explains the real problems of the human form of life is janma, mrityu, jari, vadi, or birth, death, old age and disease. That's the real problem we have. So by people becoming immersed in these mundane affairs of the material world, it actually keeps us here in this encapsulated in the material world in the cycle of repeated birth and death. So by hearing about these pastimes, which are on the transcendent platform, it actually helps to undo this hard knot within the heart that binds us in the material world. So these are purely spiritual pastimes, and that's the process for liberating the consciousness from the cycle of repeated birth and death and the strong attachment we have for being in the material world, and having dharma, artha, karma, moksha, following pious religiosity, having economic development and sense gratification. This is the process for becoming purified of this attachment to the material world. So the day before the marriage is called, they did an Adivas ceremony. So the day before an auspicious festival, we also do this in our temples as well. We have an Adivas ceremony. We just had Janmashtami, the appearance day of Lord Krishna, a few weeks ago. So the small deities of Radha and Krishna are brought to the front of the altar, and then the pujaris offer different auspicious elements like gold and silver, swastika, chandan, fruits, chamra, so many different things are offered to the deities in order to invoke their blessings for the festival the next day. So similarly, the day before the marriage of Lakshmi Priya and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, should have another picture here. Yeah. So the day before this auspicious marriage, there's an Adivas ceremony. So this is from the Chaitanya Bhagavat once again. The Adivas ceremony was performed by all the acharyas. There was happiness and bliss all around. The sacred chants of Vedic mantras are accompanied by the auspicious melodies of the conch and mridanga. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who resembled a moon, sat in the midst of the brahmanas and participated in the Adivas ceremony. The entire place was decorated with lamps, flags, flower garlands and fragrant sandalwood. Lord Gauranga's body shone like the beauty of millions of cupids. The brahmanas, while performing this Adivas, became astounded beholding the Lord's dazzling effulgence. So you can understand it's a very beautiful setting. It's very festive. Lamps, flags, flower garlands, fragrant sandalwood. So a very, very picturesque setting. And the Lord is in the middle of all of this, shining like the great moon. Sri Vallabhacharya performed the Adivas ceremony on behalf of his daughter Lakshmi Priya. He presented beautiful sandalwood and garlands to Vishvambara, who was Lord Caitanya. So the next day, waking up, the Lord bathed and performed charity. He respectfully offered oblations to his forefathers. As per the prevalent customs, the barber cut his hair while the housewives cleansed his body. The sound of delightful music and the tinkle of dancers' ankle bells swelled the air. Joyful chatter appeared from all directions. Numerous guests and groups of chaste women thronged the place. Mother Sachi satisfied all the chaste housewives with gifts of fruit, grains, vermilion, oils, and other commodities. Demigods, along with their wives, also arrived in human form to attend the marriage of the Lord. So just as we know that we read recently that when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared, that all the demigods and their wives were coming in disguise to have darshan of this wonderful form of Krishna as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So just also we're hearing here at this marriage that the demigods have appeared in disguise. So this is you could call it an interplanetary cosmic event, this marriage, because the demigods are also appearing as well. Of course, they were hidden, so not everybody recognised who they were. In fact, we were reading that when the demigods were visiting Lord Chaitanya when he was a baby, the devotees would see a shadow on the wall, and they didn't realise it was actually a demigod that was there. And so thinking, what's going on? Maybe there's some ghost or some inauspicious thing has appeared. So they would chant different mantras. So the demigods do appear sometimes. Even in Srila Prabhupada's time, there's I think it was in the Albert Hall, the devotees did a festival there for the public to come to do kirtan and hear some of the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. This is in the 1970s when Prabhupada was travelling all around the world. So one of his disciples, Yamuna Devi, was leading a kirtan, and then suddenly Prabhupada interrupted the kirtan and started chanting a bhajan to Narada Muni, Narada Muni Bhajavina, and he continued on chanting this bhajan. And at the end, the devotees were asking Prabhupada, how come you interrupted the kirtan for? And Prabhupada said, well, Narada Muni had come, so he was offering respects to Narada Muni. So sometimes even during Prabhupada's time that these personalities were appearing. Obviously Prabhupada could see things that we couldn't see. So there's other instances as well. He said the demigods had appeared during kirtan. So we never know who's here. So also in this marriage occasion of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the demigods are there as well. With tears in her eyes, Mother Sachi related to her guests. Quote, I'm without my husband and my son has lost his father. I am poor, so how can I properly serve you? Hearing his mother's words, Lord Chaitanya lowered his head. His heart burned, feeling separation from his father. So Jagannath Mishra had passed away when Lord Chaitanya Prabhu was younger. With loving words, Sachi Devi pacified her son, who then proceeded to satisfy the Brahmanas in charity. As Lord Vishwambara set out for marriage, the people of Nadia felt euphoric. They seemed to be going crazy in transcendental bliss. Huge crowds assembled to catch a glimpse of the Lord. Although the people were pushing and shoving each other, no one could move forward as they stood awestruck beholding the beauty of the Lord. Some women could not tie their hair in excitement. Throwing away their shyness and breathing heavily, they ran to catch a glimpse of Lord Gaura Hari. Dropping their arrogance and calling each other, all of them ran down the road in Navadweep. Even the demigods stopped their celestial airplanes to relish the enchanting form of Lord Gauranga. Their wives could not take their eyes off the beautiful face of Lord Gaurasundra. The celestial woman filled all the directions with their auspicious songs. So yeah, as I said, that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is not different from Krishna. So Krishna means the all-attractive one. So just like when we read about Krishna's Vrindavan pastimes, he was able to attract all the young girls of Vrindavan who were attracted to his beauty. Because Bhagavan means the one who possesses all opulences, and one of those opulences is beauty. Just like we see in the material world, someone who possesses an opulence like beauty, people are very intrigued and fascinated by them, and there's always media and movies and magazines about people because they're considered to be very, very beautiful. So all this opulences we see in this world here, whether it's people have wealth or money or beauty or renunciation or fame, those things all actually come from Krishna. So Krishna is a reservoir of where all those opulences come from. So we can appreciate here that he was so beautiful that all these demigods and everyone in Navadweep were just attracted to him. Just like in Vrindavan, when Krishna was there, everyone was attracted to his beauty. Krishna is the most beautiful. So the celestial woman filled all directions with her auspicious songs. Flooded with great joy and excitement, the ladies of Nadia sang a bhajan. So this is the English translation from the Caitanya Mangala. Now comb your hair and put on a colourful new sari. Decorate your eyes with black kajal. Let us all observe the marriage of Vishwambara by dressing up nicely. This is a song, but I'm just reading it. I'm not going to sing it. Quickly put on your necklaces, bracelets, armlets, waist belts, ankle bells, and other glittering ornaments. Brush vermilion on the parting of your hair and put a dot of sandalwood paste on your forehead. Place betel nuts on your lips and take a betel leaf in your left hand. Walk with playful, languid grace. The sight of Vishwambara pierces our heart with 5 arrows of Cupid. As a result, we cannot control ourselves anymore. In the evening, just before sunset, Nimai reached the house of Sri Vallabhacharya at the chosen auspicious time. Witnessing the Lord, the guests were flooded with waves of ecstasy. Vallabhacharya offered the Lord a seat with the utmost regard. He felt an indescribable joy within himself. Finally, he brought his daughter Lakshmi Priya, entirely decorated with beautiful ornaments, and presented her before the Lord. According to marriage customs, Lakshmi Priya was lifted off the ground and carried 7 times around the Lord. Loud chanting of Lord Hari's name resounded in all directions. Lakshmi Priya Devi sat with folded hands and offered silent prayers unto the Lord of her life. During the auspicious ritual of exchanging glances between the bride and bridegroom, people showered flowers jubilantly from all directions on Lakshmi and Narayan. Sri Narayan has now appeared as Lord Gauranga, while Sri Lakshmi Devi has appeared as Lakshmi Priya, the daughter of Vallabhacharya. Lakshmi Priya offered Lord Vishwambara a garland of flowers at his lotus feet. She worshipped him, surrendering herself as though she were those very flowers. Joyful sounds accompanied by ecstatic chanting of Lord Hari's name tore the air. The Lord gazed at the moon-like beautiful face of Sri Lakshmi Devi as he sat with her on his left. Who can possibly express the amazing ecstatic rapture that permeated Vallabha's house on that day? Thereafter, Sri Vallabha, resembling Bhishmadev, handed over his daughter unto the Lord. Vallabhacharya then poured water on Vishwambara's lotus feet. These are the same lotus feet that are washed and worshipped by Lord Brahma and Shiva to gain strength and power to create this material world. The fortunate Brahmana offered his daughter according to the scriptural regulations and felt immense waves of ecstasy within his heart. The rest of the ceremonies were then properly concluded. The Lord then spent that night in their house before leaving with his wife the next morning. Lakshmi Priya and Vishwambara arrive at the Yoga Pit, or Lord Chaitanya's birthplace. The Lord and his wife returned on a palanquin, and people flocked to catch a glimpse of the newly wedded couple. Beautifully anointed with flowers, gold ornaments, studded crowns and sandalwood paste, the couple were effulgent with a transcendental glow. People all around acknowledged their good fortune seeing this divine couple. The ladies stood mesmerised beholding the sublimely beautiful sight. Few ladies expressed that perhaps Lakshmi Priya had performed severe austerities, worshipping Shiva and Parvati with great devotion. It is only due to her pious activities that she had now obtained such a good husband. Some compared the couple with Shiva and Parvati. Some compared them with Indra and Sachi. Some compared them with Marana and Rati. Or some suggested that they must be Lakshmi and Narayan. They look exactly like Lord Sita and Lord Ram, said another woman, and they're so charming as they ride on the palanquin. The ladies expressed their opinions as they watched the divine couple with wonder and delight. The Lord brought his new bride home in the evening amidst joyous chants, sweet music and laughter. Mother Sachi went out to meet the newlywed couple and brought them inside the house. She felt infinite pleasure hustling around, distributing valuable gifts to everyone and pleasing the guests with sweet words. So once again, a very, very beautiful picturesque scene being created here by this wonderful marriage of the eternal associates Lakshmi and Narayan in the form of Lord Gauranga and Lakshmi Priya. At this time, Mother Sachi witnessed a few miraculous pastimes. Sachi Mata felt that her house was illuminated with a new bright light. Now that Lakshmi Devi was in her rightful position next to Lord Narayan, Sri Gauranga, Sachi Devi could see an amazing light everywhere, inside as well as outside the house. She was wonderstruck and could not describe the phenomenon. Sometimes she saw a fiery ray of light right next to her son, but when she looked again, it was no longer to be seen. At other times, she could smell the divine fragrance of flowers and lotuses, and this surprised her beyond description. She thought that Lakshmi Priya must be the goddess Lakshmi or her expansion. My previous sufferings and our poverty seems to have vanished. I do not know how I have received this girl as my daughter-in-law, for she is certainly Lakshmi Devi. Sachimata considered. She had concluded rightly, and the Gora Ganadishtapika Sri Kavi Kanapur writes that Lakshmi Priya Devi was the combined incarnation of Rukmini, Krishna's queen, Mother Sita, Lord Ram's consort, and Mahalakshmi. So, whoever devotedly hears this narration of the Lord's marriage certainly breaks the ties of material bondage. So that's the benediction of listening to this pastime, is that, as we talked about, these are purely spiritual, transcendental pastimes, nothing to do with the material world. So by hearing these things, it purifies the heart, works on a transcendental level. So that's a very wonderful description. That's from a combination of the Caitanya Mangala and the Chaitanya Bhagavat. So unfortunately, this marriage didn't last because Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu later on was travelling through East Bengal, and Lakshmi Priya didn't accompany Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So she was feeling great separation from her eternal consort, the Lord of her heart. So she stopped eating, became very emaciated, and then finally she went to the bank of the Ganges and began meditating, and then left because she could no longer tolerate the separation she felt from her eternal beloved Lord. So this is one of the themes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance. It's explained that he's the most magnanimous incarnation because he's freely distributing, which no other incarnation has ever done before, and that's love of Godhead, pure love of Godhead. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the most magnanimous of all the incarnations because he's freely distributing the highest form of love of Godhead. And that particular mood that he was showing us was this mood of separation, this Vipralamba Seva, that the highest form of worship is actually not being with the Lord, with Krishna, but actually feeling separation from him. So this is a strong theme throughout the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, to demonstrate to us the highest form of love of Godhead is to feel the strong feeling of separation from him. And the way, a nice example Prabhupada gave to understand that was when we're outside, and this is a conversation Srila Prabhupada was having with his disciples, that when we're outside and then suddenly the sun goes behind the clouds, and Prabhupada asked his disciples, so what are we experiencing? And some of the disciples were trying to answer Prabhupada saying, well, we feel colder because the clouds are covering the sun. And Prabhupada said, no, what you're experiencing is the feeling of separation from the sun. So he's using that as an analogy to try and help us understand what it means to feel separation from our beloved Lord, because Jiva Sarupoi, Krishna Nichadas, all of us are eternal, and all of us are eternal servants of Krishna. That's our Sanatan Dharma, that's our eternal occupation, that all of us, no matter where we're from, or whatever body we have, or race, religion, or creed, or gender, whatever it may be, all of us are eternal associates of Lord Krishna. Eternally, forever. That's our eternal sarup, our constitutional position. In the material world, we adopt all these avashas. We put on these masks, you could call them, that I'm a man, I'm a woman, I'm a Hindu, I'm a Christian, I'm a Muslim, I'm a Buddhist, I'm a this, I'm a that. But these are not Sanatan Dharma. These are just temporary designations that we give ourselves. So this is what Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to teach, that we're none of these things, like his famous verse, na hambritvo na chanara, na vaishnu na sudro. I'm not a Vaishya, I'm not a Sudra, I'm not a Brahmin, I'm not a Kshatriya, I'm none of these things. I'm not a sannyasi, I'm not a brahmachari, I'm not a vanaprast, I'm not a grihasta, I'm none of these things. I'm just gopi patu pada kamala dastas anuras. I'm a servant of the servant of the servant of the master of the gopis, Lord Krishna. So this is transcendental truth. This is the reality that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to teach and awaken us to, because we've forgotten that this is our eternal position, to be serving Lord Krishna in a feeling of love. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as I was explaining, was coming to teach us through his own example how to experience the highest form of love of Godhead and that mood of separation from him. So we can see this here, that Lakshmi Priya, and this great mood of separation from her Lord, could no longer tolerate that. She could not tolerate that separation, so she left to go back to the transcendent realm. So this was when Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu was about 20, so they were married for maybe 6 years. And then he actually ended up taking sannyas at the age of 24, so he became a renunciate at the age of 24. But prior to that, his mother Sachi desired for him to be married again. So he married his second wife, Vishnu Priya. And they were only married for 4 years, and she was very young at the time. And Lord Caitanya, so he could start the Sankirtan movement, or the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, the Yuga Dharma, to awaken this love of Godhead, this Sankirtan chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So he could inaugurate the Sankirtan movement. He took sannyas. So you can imagine his young wife, Vishnu Priya, was devastated that the Lord of her heart had become renounced. She could no longer be with him in that relationship of being his wife. So Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu, being very merciful, presented her with a deity, Dharmeshwar Mahaprabhu. And Vishnu Priya, worshipped this deity till she was about 93 years old when she finally left. And this particular form of the Lord is still in Navadvip today. You can still have darshan of this deity of Dharmeshwar Mahaprabhu, and he's standing there with his hands outstretched like that. And that is in the mood of saying to Vishnu Priya that I am yours, I am yours. So she would worship this deity of Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu with great attention and care and love, so that this feeling of separation would not be so strong within her heart. And after she left, her servant installed this deity in the temple in Navadvip. So if you visited Mayapur, for those who have you been to Mayapur? No. Okay. Well, if you go to Mayapur, which is like the World Hare Krishna headquarters, if you take a boat across the Jalangi into the town of Navadvip, you can go to this very famous temple and have darshan of this deity. And also they at this temple they have a pair of the padukas, or the sandals of Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu. So if you ask the pujari nicely, he'll put these sandals on your head, so you can get the sandals, the paduka of Caitanya Mahaprabhu on your head. I was just there earlier this year with my family, so we had this great fortune to get the same sandals of Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu placed on our heads, so very special mercy. So we can finish there because it's prasadam time, but yeah, I had some other points to continue on with, but we don't have time to do that. But yeah, there's some nice meditations that this topmost form of love of Godhead is to feel separation from the Lord. So when we're doing our sadhana or practicing our Krishna consciousness, this is the consciousness we're trying to develop as this mood of feeling of service and separation from the Lord. Just like we can meditate when the sun is no longer with us, when it's behind the clouds and it comes again, we feel that warmth and heat and that comfort from the sun. So we can meditate on these things, that this is a mood of separation that we're trying to cultivate. So this is the gift of Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu. So we can stop there. I don't know if anybody had any questions or points they want to make before we finish and we can take prasadam. Looks like the line is getting long out there. No? Thank you for coming. It was a bit of a quiet morning today. I think everybody's recovering from Radhastami celebrations we had yesterday. It was the appearance day of Radharani, so the big festival here. You were here for the festival? Yeah. So I think everybody's recovering still. So thank you for coming and making the effort to hear about this wonderful marriage of Lakshmi Priya and Lord Gauranga Mahaprabhu. Jai. Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami ki jai. Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai. Nitai Gaura Premanandi Hari Bol.